Denise Dryden here. I'm out on Bainbridge Island on the property with this amazing cedar tree behind me. It's hundreds of years old, and when I want to present something that's really grounded and really important, I like to sit in front of him. It's kind of the grandfather of the island is what I've been told, one of the older ones. So today I want to talk about deep self-care. So over the last few months, I've been talking about Aquarian kids. I've been talking about how to prepare for change. I've been looking at tools for how to center. And then I've even sort of dropped in there several times this idea of what does it mean to dismantle? What are we dismantling and how are we going to dismantle? So today I'm going to go right after self-care as one of the most powerful steps we can take right now. That it's our way to access our power. So self-care, is it a bubble bath? Is it binging on Netflix? Is that going to help? Yeah, maybe. But, or your 1 or 2 glasses of wine at night when you come home from work. That's not what we're talking about when I'm saying deep self-care. What I'm thinking is that there's a conscious level of self-care that we're being asked to explore right now. And I want to go to the mental components, the mental, what's in our heads. I was on a website this morning called The Hardy Soul, which is fabulous, by the way. And I read an article about how to care less. Self-care is really caring less. And it was a profound connection to this topic because it was swirling around all week and I was like, I know what I want to talk about, but I can't find the connection to dismantling. And when I found this, learning how to care less, that makes sense. So as we enter these deep changes, we've talked about the astrological changes, we've talked about the changes in our culture, we've talked about the fact that none of what we're doing is sustainable right now, even in our political systems. So how do we start to prepare for change? And how do we care less about this, right? And dismantle the old to make room for something new. So there are 2 concepts I'm going to hold in our discussion this morning. One is that form follows thought. Whatever we conjure up in our head turns up in form in front of us. It's like the energy lines it up and shows it to us in form in front of us. This comes from Alice Bailey. This comes from Eckhart Tolle. This comes from Einstein's concepts of how energy is harnessed and how energy shows up in form, right? Second concept is the Hermetic principle of mentality, that everything begins and ends in the mind, the cosmic mind, the human mind, the collective mind, that the mind is where everything starts and ends. So if we want to dismantle, it makes sense, doesn't it, that we start with the mind? And here we go. What does the mind do that causes stress? Think about that. What does my mind do that stresses me out? Well, number 1 is I hold on to expectations for myself and for others. If I only weighed less, if I only looked younger, if my hair wasn't gray, if I only made this amount of money, if onlys, right? Number 2 is the rules. What's okay and what's not okay. And these are based on our family background, they're based on our societal norms, they're based on the religious factors that entered in when you were being raised. These are things where you like, if I don't have X amount in retirement right now, then I'm failing, so I can stress and see myself as a failure, right? Number 3, other people's expectations. Somehow we start looking external, outside of ourselves, and we're thinking, if they thought I was doing better, then I would be doing better, whether it's a boss, a partner, a parent. It gets exhausting, right? Number 4, comparison. It's when we compare ourselves to someone else. And sometimes, I live on Bainbridge. And there's huge houses around me. And I think, man, what did I do to not be part of this? How come I'm just this little renter? And then I think, I never wanted that life. So kind of pay attention to where these comparisons are, right? Where these comparisons are where we compare ourselves to someone else and we come up less than and we start to stress, right? Number 5, perfectionism. This needing to be perfect, this needing that if everything was exactly lined up the way it's supposed to be, then I'm okay. And that perfectionism keeps us always striving, always trying to catch the next detail, and then thinking, that detail wasn't best. I need to do something better. And number 6, control. The way that we control the external world, we micromanage, and we do it out of fear. We do it out of expectations. We do it out of others' expectations. We do it out of, comparison. It just goes on. It's how we try to control the world around us, right? So this makes us stressed, makes us anxious. It puts us on edge. It interferes with our personal health. We have symptoms of stress in our body, our disorders that have started with our gut, with headaches and migraines. It shows up in our relationships, and it shows up in our productivity. So when we're trying too hard mentally to keep up, to perform, to compete, we're caring too much about what the external world has to say. And we're ignoring our own little internal world, the one that really makes us happy, the one that makes us work for ourselves, right? It's when everything flows. So when we're based on the external world, we're striving, we're forcing, we're pushing, we're ignoring. And none of that is healthy for us. And that's what we are looking at, how to dismantle. So self-care is needed. Deep self-care, the kind that loosens up the mind and releases it to wander. It's like, I can't think about this anymore. I need to just let it wander. I need to observe and have no attachment to what it is. The kind that opens up constriction so that you can breathe. And for many of you, when you're in that tight schedule, that tight productivity, it's like you start breathing shallower and shallower from the neck up, and it doesn't work. So what we want to do is we want to open up those constrictions and let your body breathe. And we want that kind of deep self-care that brings us out of overwhelm and back into our bodies, which is, there's too many things out there that I have to keep track of, and I'm ignoring this vehicle, this vessel that I have for how to make it happen. So the purpose of deep self-care is to loosen up, right, the grip, and teach our body and our energy system ways to relax, ways to recalibrate, and go back into balance. Doesn't that make sense? So what brings you back into balance, back into you? Not what makes you feel good for an hour, not what makes you feel pretty or proud, and not what helps you turn everything off, and like the way we self-medicate with screens and shows and wine and weed and company and telephones and blah, 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 right? What makes you wake up to yourself and helps you expand back into you? So here are some ideas of what I've come up with in my coaching, because a lot of what we do is you got to take care of yourself first and then turn around and be present for somebody else. So one is to stop time, literally stop time. I haven't worn a wrist watch on my body for 15 years now. I refuse to put that timekeeper on my body. So what we do is we let go of time minute by minute, and we let go of the management. So what that might look like, to be realistic, is I might set a timer for an hour. I might set a timer at the end of the morning, like 11:30. I might set a timer in the afternoon or the evening. I might set a timer on Sunday night at 6 o'clock that says start to get things ready. And I might literally disconnect from Friday afternoon, or because of this video, right? It's always going to be Saturday night, and then I do the video, and then I have a whole nother day of disconnection, which is what I want. How to set it for a week or a month. But set a timer at when you need this self-care to end, and then just literally let go. Let go of every task that you have to do. So that's the first one, is stop time. Stop watching time and set something that will remind you when it's time to come back in and be real. Second, find your own little inner girl, your own little inner little girl, your little boy, and ask them what they need. What is it that you want? And if they're like, I want ice cream. Yeah, of course you want ice cream because you're tired and you need something else. But what if we take a walk? What if we go stand and put our feet in the ocean? What if we make a really good, healthy meal and we eat it slowly? What if we go to bed early and put all the pillows around us and maybe even read a really short, fun story before we go to bed? What if we need time outside, taking a walk, floating in the pool, standing in water, seeing the sunrise, right? Lighting candles and sitting outside. What kind of attention does my own little inner child need? Mental and emotional attention. Like, hey, I see you. What do you like? Do you like this? What do you think about that? And you start to talk to that little girl inside. And, mine, she just goes like, oh my God, you are finally paying attention to me. And then we get happy. We get happy together, right? And there's laughter, and there's softness, and there's kindness. So the third thing is to rejuvenate your entire body and your cells with water, with good food. Think of like the hedonist in you. Go for the senses: music, scenery, sound, air, space, no interruptions. Nurture your body. Take a long bath. I like to rub lotion on, like 1 inch, little bit of a self-massage. I do my feet, I do my knees, I do my hips, my shoulders, my neck with lotion, and just sort of go like, hello, forgot about you. So let's just take care of this stiff little shoulder here. And I rest, and I take naps, and I sit on a hammock. And in the middle of a Saturday, if I don't have anything to do for an hour, I'll go power nap. Just take a 30-minute nap and go play. Fourth thing is the removal of distractions. Make sure that when you're giving yourself really time to get deep into self-care, that you're not carrying your phone and making up on time with all of your phone calls. I have a couple of clients that read. They read for anxiety, so they just peruse through the pages really, really fast. That's not restful. Errands aren't restful. Screens aren't restful. Difficult conversations aren't restful. So, don't look at self-care as, I'm going to take care of myself by catching up on the things I'm behind on. What we want to do is say, I'm going to take care of myself and restore my cells. So I'm giving my mental side, my mind, a break from sorting and prioritizing and comparing and following and navigating, and I let it have a real rest. And then the fifth is to feel your feelings. Like, let them come up. Let your body feel. Sink into them. Use music, candlelight, water, nature. Let things sort of like move the feelings, and then sit with them. And one of the things I noticed is that when I try to do yoga, like vinyasa or hot yoga or something where I have to keep up, my mind's constantly watching and trying to keep the pace. But when I go to slow, restorative, gentle yoga, I can't get out of my feelings. They kind of rise up and they just sit there, and I'm like, ooh, that kind of hurts when I have to do this pose for very long. And then when I allowed myself to breathe and sink into it, the more feelings come up. And I breathe and I sink into it, and more feelings come up. So we want to feel our feelings. We do. We want to do things like maybe color, make mandalas, walk on the beach, do things, dance, breathe, do anything that allow your feelings to come up. Because when they're there, that's when we know we're alive. So we're dismantling our old ways of observing and making lists and attaching to the list and efforting to make them happen. We're taking the mind and we're saying self-care does not include you. You're going to get your own time. We're going to put you over on the shelf, and we're going to take care of our body. Because when we dismantle that ever-growing monkey mind, we step out of the mechanisms that are sort of forcing us through the world, and we start to go, oh, I may need something different, and I may need to craft my life in a different way. And that's what we're asking right now, is do that really patient, kind, compassionate, nurturing care, and see what wants to happen. So if you would like any assistance with this or a guide, this is what I do. I do short sessions, I do long sessions, I do series over 2 months, and we can walk through what is it like to do deep self-care. So have a wonderful Sunday. It's August. Get outside and play. Go see what nature has to teach you, and have a great day. You take care. Bye-bye.